Bracket analysis show. I'm Meredith Perry, and I'm the managing producer of sports at Mass Live. I'm thrilled to be here with Franklin TV host Pete Royce as we bring you another first. Mass Live and Franklin TV have partnered with the Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletic Association to bring you a live show taking a look at the basketball brackets that were just released and going a little bit deeper into what the postseason will look like. Over the course of today, we'll have special guests from across the state, including the executive director of the MIAA, a Massachusetts high school sports historian, reporters, and most importantly, some of the terrific athletes that will make the next few weeks so special. Now, Pete, you have some great games coming up that you're going to cover. What are you most excited for looking into the postseason?
I can just feel the energy already building up within me, so I can imagine what it's going to build up with these players, these great teams coming up. So I'm just looking for some great basketball, and I think it's going to be a great run into the Tsongas Center.
Absolutely, and I'm so thrilled to be here. Thank you to you and the rest of the Franklin TV staff for having me on set today.
Absolutely.
Now, earlier this week, I sat down with MIAA Executive Director Dr. Bob Baldwin to talk about the postseason. We'll take a look back now and see what he. And we're thrilled now to be joined by Dr. Baldwin, the Executive Director of the MIAA. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
You know, we've been having this conversation for a while to have a live show. It was something that you've wanted to do, and now Mass Live and Franklin TV are thrilled to partner with you. Why was this such an important step for you?
It's all about the atmosphere for kids and the excitement, and they deserve that. And why shouldn't every student athlete, every community? The thing about a state tournament is it's about the community. Why can't the community get excited about their kids, get excited about their teams? Each season, each year, this is the opportunity to see if it works and get the kinks out. But it's so exciting that you are both allowing this opportunity to happen. And hopefully our coaches, our kids, our school communities will get excited about what's coming up.
Now, you've been a part of this experience as a coach before. Any favorite memories you'd like to share about your own postseason history?
I never went deep enough, but I take a story out of, I'm going to date myself, and people are going to go, I don't even know what that show is, but there was a segment on Happy Days way back when in which they had a basketball tournament, and they were the first people in the gym, the son and the father, and the last people out of the gym. And I always made it a point when we played in the tournament to be the first one in the gym and the last one out, and never took for granted what the experience was like. And all too often it was one time in the gym and we were done. But it's just an amazing experience. Only one team wins. It's not about that. It's about what the experience is in that one game, the bus ride that may take place on an away game. It's just special, and it'll be a memory for the rest of their lives.
Now, you've been involved with this process as a coach, a superintendent, now the executive director of the MIAA. What do you hope the students get out of this tournament experience, whether they're the first one out or the one raising that trophy at the end?
It is the experience. The game is the game, and the game is special, and the game is hyped up with maybe a few more fans and some excitement. But truly, you're a part of something that maybe you'll never experience again in your life. Are you going on to college? Maybe, maybe not. Are you going on further than that? Probably not. In your community with people you've grown up with, you're experiencing something that you'll have a memory of the rest of your lives. And there's a deep history, and your community will remember the rest of their lives. So, you know, don't think too much about it. Don't get too big of a head while you're going through it, but enjoy every second of it. Enjoy the experience of it. It's special, and it's about to happen.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time. We're glad to have you here, and we'll check back in with you in a little bit.
And thank you for everything.
And those special moments will kickstart this week.
Oh, tremendous. Can't wait to get it going. And we have Mike's Corner coming up. I'd like to introduce Mike Richard, who is our resident historian. Mike knows all things about high school sports in the state of Massachusetts. And Mike, let's bring you in. And you think history will be made here in the 2024 high school basketball tournament on the girls and boys side?
Well, thanks, Pete. Yeah, history is always made in these tournaments. Sometimes it's history because teams continue a very long streak of success, and sometimes you have the Cinderella kids that come in and you know, knock off the big dogs, and it's just a great exciting time. And you know, I know we're looking at some of the brackets right now. Are we releasing the brackets? Is that what I'm?
Yes,
Tom,
we are.
is that-
We'll start looking right now at the Division 5 girls basketball bracket. If
Perfect.
you could give us some fun facts from that one.
Yeah, well, Division 5, you have a team that's no stranger to the state championship round, Hoosick Valley. Hoosick won it in the 2019. They beat St. Mary's of Lynn for the championship. They went 2 years ago in 2022 and got beat by Hopedale, but they also had a run of, about 4 years in a row where they made it to the state finals and came away not so successful. But the Hurricanes, they're always up there for something exciting. West Boylston is one of the many teams in Division 5 that has never been to a state final before. So you have West Boylston, you have number 4, the Renaissance Phoenix, number 5, Westport, number 6, Palmer, number 7, Maynard, number 9, St. John Paul of Hyannis, and number 10, Pioneer Valley. None of them have ever made it to a to a state championship game. So there could be some interesting things happening there. Of course, Lennox, at number 3 seed, has won 2 state championships back in 1984 as well as 1991. So it could be a millionaire lottery for the Lennox team this year.
Absolutely. And we'll hear a little bit more from one of those teams shortly. But before we do that, Mike, why don't you take us through Division 4 as well?
Absolutely. Well, Division 4, you have the defending champion Cathedral in the number 1 spot. Cathedral knocked off Wacona last year, 75-53. Cathedral is one of those rare teams that has made it to a state championship game and never lost. 6 times overall. So, they did it the same. They turned the trick back in 1984, in 2016, 17, and 19, and again last year. So Cathedral is, when they get to the championship game, they certainly know what to do. Millis is another team that, they were there last year. They're the number 4 seed this year, but they lost to Springfield International 42-34. But they've had a great run of success over there at Millis, with championships in 2009, 2014, and 2015. Then you get, some of the people that haven't been there before. South Hadley, as an example. Bourne as the number 7 seed. Sutton, the Susies down there in Central Mass. In Northbridge, another one. Never been to the state finals before. And then you have teams like Tingsboro, number 2 seed, which won a championship back in 1999. Their only one, knocking off Harwich. In the Division 3, Foxborough, defending state champions, back at the number 1 seed this year. They were state champs in 2018 as well. Norwell at the number 2 seed. They've only gone to the state championship once, and they get beat by that juggernaut from Western Mass, Lee, in 1989. The Medway team has had only one trip to the state finals, and they beat Lee in 1994 by a score of 64-54. Of course, St. Mary's of Lynn, one of those teams that no stranger to the state finals. They won it last year, and they were also state champions in 2002, 2011, 2014, and 2022. So they're actually back-to-back state champions. And then a few newcomers to the possibility of a state title, with teams like Norton at number 6 and Sandwich at number 7, and even the Pentucket team, which won it back in 2012 and 2019. They check in at number 19. And Dover Sherburne, who went to the state finals only once back in 2002, losing to St. Mary's of Lynn. I think it's wide open, and a lot of these teams, as Pete mentioned, they could pull the upset. They could be the Cinderella team this year. It remains to be seen what happens.
Sure sounds like we might have some new history to add to your record books after this one. Well, thank you, Mike. We're going to now move over to speak to a couple of the players that might make history. We have the Renaissance girls basketball team joining us. I believe they are on the bus right now, as they are playing in the Western Mass Championship against Lennox in, I think, only about an hour. Renaissance girls basketball, can you hear me? Oh, well, it looks like we might be having a little bit of difficulty with Renaissance. If they wind up hopping on later, we'll take a look in with them. But the Renaissance girls team is undefeated right now at 20-0. And the remarkable thing about that team, as they earn the number 4 seed, is that they're actually mostly 7th grade through freshmen.
Yeah, you were saying that offline before the show, Meredith, and that's amazing. And to have that kind of look at their talent this year. Where will they be 3-4 years from now? We'll probably be back on this set talking about them as a number 1 seed.
Absolutely. Well, as it turns out, Renaissance has just joined us. I believe we have Sinai Baker and Kaylee Buzzell on with us. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey, Renaissance, how's your trip to Holyoke Community College going right now? Here, you know, you have a big matchup today for the Western Mass Class C title. How are you feeling going into the game? It looks like we're having some connection troubles. We'll try one more time here. What has helped you guys become undefeated this season?
Together and just encouraging each other all the time and just making sure we understand that mistakes are okay and that we just need to push harder next time.
Now, you have such a young team. How has it been coming together and working together in order to get to this point? Oh. Well, unfortunately, it looks like we're having a little bit of internet trouble, but we'll look forward to seeing what happens with Renaissance as they go up against Lennox later today. For now, we'll head back over to our brackets and Mike with the Division 2.
Well, Division 2, we have Medfield at the number 1 seed, and Medfield last went to the state championship game back in 2017. Were victorious. At number 2, Walpole. Walpole's one of those teams that's had a great success rate in the championship game. They went to the state championship game, I believe, a total of 8 times, and they've won 7 championships along the way. Notre Dame of Hingham has had only 1 trip to the championship. That was 2009, and they beat Millbury from the Worcester area by a score of 36-33. Other teams that could surprise, the Dartmouth high school team. They went to this championship game only once back in 2005, and they knocked off a very strong Springfield Central team 62-58 in that one. Who else do we have here? We've got some teams that could be making their maiden trips to the state championship game, like Northampton and Worcester South and Billerica and Mansfield as well. They've never won a championship. Norwood rounds out the top 10. And their last state championship round came in 2022, where they lost in that final round. So, you know, there are a lot of teams here as well that are pretty much opened up in Division 2. And Division 1, on the other hand, we've got some great potential matchups there as well.
You know, in Division 2, you mentioned Northampton. They've had such a great season, and they've played a couple of strong games against Central in the Western Mass games. They'll actually play Central today for the Class A championship. And also notice Chicopee Compound. They're a team that has Taryn Caravo, who will likely get her 1,000th point in the first round game. So that'll certainly be an exciting one for them. You mentioned Division 1 briefly. Why don't we take a look at that bracket now as well?
Sure. Well, Division 1, we have Bishop Feehan as the number 1 seed, and they're still, I'm sure, smarting from last year's loss in the state championship game to Andover, 55-51. Andover, by the way, is the 13th seed this year, and they're obviously defending champs, so you know they might have a bracket to move their way up through there. Wachusett Regional from the Central Mass area. Great run of success over the years, but never made it to a state championship game. But have had a great run. Of course, Springfield Central has always been the beast from the West, I guess you could call them there. Their last state championship came in 2022, and they've had a couple of other championships back in 2007 and 2017. A number of Division I schools have never made it to a state final game, such as Woburn and Weymouth and Quincy and Lexington and Needham. So they're, there's some wide open opportunities for a lot of those teams that may not have had a great history in the past of winning and moving to state championship games. Central Catholic won a pair in 2009 and 2013. And then you have Wellesley in their only appearance back in 2008, beating Millbury by the score of 65-44.
Mike, it's just tremendous. You are a computer with all of your knowledge. And you mentioned Wachusett Regional. And let's bring in on Zoom some of the players from Wachusett Regional. 20-0 on the season, the number 2 seed in the tournament. And we have Liz Kane joining us along with Riley Leary and Hannah Best. I see a bunch of your supporting characters behind you. As I ask these questions, if you could please identify yourselves, that would be good. But congratulations on going 20-0. How do you feel about playing in this year's tournament?
We're super excited for this year. Like you said, we haven't made it to a championship game yet. So that's our goal this year. We've gotten stuck in the Final Four for the past 2 years. So our main goal this whole season is to make it to the end.
And on your season, undefeated, 20-0, you won a lot of your games by big scores. I think your last game, Foxborough, maybe by 8. But as the competition gets stiffer, what will you do to adjust your game to kind of ratchet up to the level of the competition, which have some good teams in this tournament, as Mike just outlined?
We just need to continue to execute like we have been all season. Every game we know what we're going into. We have a game plan. And if we execute, I think we're capable of beating any team that you put in front of us.
As fans watch your team play, Wachusett Regional, what style of basketball play can they expect from you girls?
I would say working hard. We always are bringing 100% and also teamwork. Like when you watch us, there was one game where 5 of the players on our team all scored in double digits. That just shows like how we're always just trying to find the best basket possible. And they're just working together.
Yeah, that's pretty tough to defend a team who puts up 5 double-figure scorers. Well, one of your players, I don't know if she's there, Mary Gibbons, she's one of your great players, has scored a whole bunch of points. 4 years from now, she'll be becoming an officer in the U.S. Navy. And have you any examples, any anecdotes that you can share about what her leadership has been like for your team? I'm sure she's got leadership qualities.
Yeah, Mary couldn't make it here with us today, but Mary's just a really strong leader on and off the court. During our games, she is always cheering on her teammates, and in the huddle, she's always the one who brings us together if we're ever down. But she shows a lot of her leadership skills always. She's a really strong part of our team and a great captain.
And your coach, Jim Oxford, what has he brought to your team in terms of motivating you for this tournament run?
He's the one who gives us the game plan. He's always prepared and he knows what to expect, and he tells us that.
He always believes in us, and we look up to him because he has really good leadership skills, and he's always helping us prepare for every game.
So pretty soon you'll be facing your first competition in the tournament. And I'm just wondering, what do you girls do on game day? Let's say it's in the morning you get up, but what is your routine on game day? What do you eat? What do you do? And how do you get yourself ready for a big game?
We try to do the same thing every game. Like in the locker room, we have the same traditions and it's group huddles before the games. We also sometimes go out to breakfast in the morning for our home games, but we try to stick with our routine. We do the same warm-up routine every time. We stick to a strict schedule when it comes to game days. Yeah, we try and get logged in early. I know every away game, one of the things we do is a silent bus ride on the way to the game, and that's pretty important to us. We just try and get focused as early as we can.
That's pretty good. A silent bus ride for the whole length of the bus trip?
Yeah.
All right. Well, great chatting with you girls, the Mountaineers of Wachusett Regional, the number 2 seed in the tournament, 20-0 on the season. Good luck in the tournament coming up, and thanks for joining us here today.
Thank you.
Okay, that's Wachusett Regional. And Meredith, there'll be a team to beat, and I know you have other special guests who will highlight more of basketball.
Absolutely. We'll now turn over to the one and only Danny Ventura of the Boston Herald, along with Ethan Fuller of the Boston Globe, to chat a little bit more about those girls' basketball brackets. Danny and Ethan, are you with us? Oh, looks like we might be missing a couple of people here. So we will circle back once we see if Danny and Ethan are able to join us. For right now, we'll take a look over at boys basketball. Another one where we're going to see some terrific matchups throughout the basketball brackets. Mike, why don't you tell us a little bit about Division 5?
Sure. In the Division 5 bracket, Maynard, who's a number 4 seed, has probably been to the state final more recently than any other team there. They back in 2022 they won it, beating the now defunct Paulo Freire team, but that was back in 2022. Hoosick Valley, the number 1 seed, the Hurricanes, have been to the state finals 3 times, losing all 3 times, but this could be the year of the Hurricane. Who knows in Division 5? The number 2 seed is New Mission, and they, I'll tell you, they get to the state finals, they don't miss. They've won it in 2010, 2011, 2014, and 2016. So don't rule out the Titans. They're pretty strong there as well. Pioneer Valley from the Western Mass part of the state has won 2 out of 3 times in the state finals, both in 1996, 97, and then losing in 1998, but they went 3 consecutive years. Mahar's another team. The Senators have made it only 1 time back in 2012, and they were champions over Brighton by a score of 45-41. Several other teams have never made it there before. Granby, for example, has not. Douglas has not. Holbrook, 1965, their only trip to the state finals, and they beat Holliston. I'm sorry, they lost to Holliston by a score of 90-77. And Drury, another one of those teams that hasn't been there for quite some time, they went to the state finals in 1988 and came back losers. But you know, Division 5 could be one of those divisions this year where there could be some big surprises and some teams that have not won championships before that'll have an opportunity this time around.
Looks like someone might break a good long streak in in Division 5.
Yeah, there could be some upsets, Meredith, coming out of that division. You know, you mentioned Hoosick Valley, the number 1 seed, but who knows how that'll go.
Absolutely. Now, over in Division 4, what are you seeing, Mike?
Well, I see a Wareham team that is coming back strong as state champions from last year. They beat Springfield International 66-40 in the championship game. And then their neighbors, short way down the street, Bourne, coming in second. And Bourne has not been to a state championship game since 1959, where they lost to East Bridgewater. We've got teams like Monument Mountain and Clinton and Burke, who have never been to a state championship game before. Then I'm trying to look out the rest of the way through. The Millbury team lost to East Boston back in 1986. They're the number 4 seed. Manchester, as the Manchester Essex, I should say, has only appeared twice in the state championship game. Back when they were known as Manchester High School, in 1966 they won, 1967 they lost. Number 5 seed, it's been a long time since they've had an opportunity to go to the big dance, but this could be the year for them. Georgetown has not been in, which is the number 9 seed, has not been in a state championship game since 1955. Back then they were known as the Pearly Free School in Georgetown, losing to Weston. Of course, did we forget anybody in that? Lynn Tech.
I think you got quite a few schools in there, including a few that no longer exist.
Yeah, Lynn Tech back in 2005 was their last trip to the state championship game. So again, Wareham certainly seems to be the team to beat. Very strong team. They've made it to the state finals, as I said, last year, and coming back as defending champions. And I guess until they can be, can be reckoned with, could have a very strong hold on Division 4.
Mike, when you look at Division 3, you know, you got to start, I guess, with a good Western Mass matchup between Taconic and Pittsfield, 2 old rivals who are doing well this year in basketball in Division 3.
Yeah, how often do you have, one town with 2 schools battling it out? And Taconic and Pittsfield were, 1 and 2 for a long time in our in the championship bracket. This time around, Charlestown got the #1 seed. The Townies, another one of those teams that had a tremendous run of success in the early part of this century. From 2000 to 2003, they won 5 consecutive championships. And then lost into 04 and came back and won it again in 2005. So Charlestown, a real success. And then the #2 seed, Old Rochester, only made it to 1 state championship game. That was in 2015, where they beat Hoosick Valley. So that's another interesting matchup there. And you've got a few teams that are newcomers as well. #5, Norwell. Pittsfield has never been to a state championship game. Taconic, as we mentioned, won it last year. They beat David Prouty. And of course, somebody like St. Mary's of Lynn, and even the 11 and 12 seeds, teams like Salem and East Boston. Don't count out the Jets from East Boston. They have never lost in a state championship game. They've gone on 4 different occasions and won every single time. So they're one of the few schools that have a 1,000 batting average when it comes to getting to the state championship games.
And Mike, they make our all-nickname team, the East Boston Jets.
Gotta love the Jets. Yeah, flying right over Logan and right over the high school.
Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned that Pittsfield-Taconic rivalry. They actually played each other in the Western Mass semifinals the other day. Pittsfield came out with the win after I believe Taconic won both games during the regular season. So now it's Pittsfield going against that Division IV school, Monument Mountain, that you mentioned for a Western Mass title later today. But for right now, it looks like we're joined by the Douglas boys basketball team. We have Isaac, Gavin, and Will, and it looks like the rest of the team as well hanging out and ready for us. Isaac, we'll start with you. What was your reaction when you found out the team was ranked number 10 today?
I was very happy with our placement. Obviously, we haven't been 10 for a while or even ranked that high for a while, but we're looking to make a deep run in the playoffs.
Now, you mentioned, not having been ranked that high in a while. Last year, you were the number 23 seed. Even at the start of this season, I think you all started 2 and 4. We've had quite the turnaround this year. Gavin, why don't you tell me a little bit about what's changed with the team?
Yeah, so we really didn't graduate a ton of seniors last year. It's our grade that's kind of kept the bulk of the team. And from this year to last year, I'd say our main change is definitely just like our communication skills and our bonding. From last year, jumping now to what our record looks like, it obviously is very different. It's kind of built upon our practice schedules, just being a more cohesive unit as opposed to trying to play as individuals.
Will, what have you, Gavin, and Isaac done to get that communication going, make the team a more cohesive unit?
Just in practice, coach has always stressed, playing together, communicating on defense, especially our defensive buy-in. We know to be a great team, you have to have a great defense. And since we were 2 and 4, I feel like we've stepped up our overall communication. Just our defense has. Oh, you just God. Our defense has carried us from our 2 and 4 record to where we are today.
Great. Now, obviously, plenty of big games in that span to get to where you are today. Any game in particular that stood out to you, or any moment in particular that stood out this season?
I would say our first game against Hopedale, when we beat them in early January. We haven't had a lot of success as a program against Hopedale, and holding them to, I believe it was low 40s in that game. That just showed us the potential we had if we were able to stick together, and I think we've done that since then.
Okay, if you guys are going to make a deep run into the postseason, what is the #1 most important thing for you to accomplish?
I'd agree with William in terms of what he just said about defense, because regardless of how we're shooting on any night, as long as we buy in as a team and communicate through whatever style that we decide to use against who we're playing, then we'll be fine. Because we can always, if we can hold them to below 40 points a game in our eyes, we feel like we can beat any team.
Great. Gavin, Isaac, Will, the rest of the Douglas boys basketball team, thanks so much for joining us, and good luck during the tournament.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
great to see the entire team together, just like
I,
the Wachusett
I like
girls.
the emphasis on communications.
Yeah.
You know, that's an intangible part of the game. It's something that comes. You don't have to have a good game or a bad game. You can communicate all the time, and it's kind of smooths it out. And they're going to ride that communication and ride that defense for as long as it'll take them.
And you can see that cohesive unit with having the entire team together today.
That's very nice.
Where it's great to see everyone together for what's been a fun show on our part.
It's really nice to see. Good luck to the Douglas team.
Well, now we will take a look at our final two brackets, starting with the Division I boys basketball brackets. Mike?
Division
2.
Division 2. Sure. Well, I'll tell you, number 1 seed, Malden Catholic, 2-time defending champs. They won it last year. They defeated Mansfield 72-54, and then the year before that they beat Norwood by a score of 95-40. So Malden Catholic, always a team to deal with, particularly in the strength of what they've had so far. Number 2 seed, Leominster, never been there before, but Leominster is just a community that has a tremendous winning record and success, you know, from baseball and football and many, many other teams. This could be the year for the Blue Devils in Division 2. In Division, the number 3 seed is Pope Francis from out west. They have never won as Pope Francis, but back when they were Springfield Cathedral, won a championship back in 2002. And then Somerset Berkeley, an interesting one at number 4. The Raiders last won a championship back in 1954. They've made it to the state finals twice, in 1948 and in 54. The number 5 seed is Mansfield. Of course, they were state finalists last year, losing to Malden Catholic in the championship game, but they last won a title back in 2018. Rounding out the bracket, you have Hopkinton, who was a loser in their only opportunity to go to the state finals in 2001, losing to St. Mary's of Lynn. Sharon was a state champion of 1991. They beat Wacona. And then you have Holyoke and Westwood and Doherty rounding things out in the top 10. Doherty went to their only state championship in 1976. Westwood won a title in 1962, and then the other Holyoke, I believe, was the number 8 seed, and they've only been twice, losing in 1995, the last time they were there. Malden Catholic looks pretty strong, but I'll tell you what, keep an eye on Leominster. They could be a very big surprise, you know, putting forth a big stamp on the Plastic City out there in Central Mass.
You know, you mentioned Holyoke. They actually didn't even make the postseason last year. They were 8-12 and missed it. So now for them to come back and be one of those top teams should make for an interesting run.
Sure.
Yeah, and you look at Division I now, Mike. You know, I guess you got some real top teams in there. We'll know the number 1 seed, very strong, in Worcester North. But how do you assess the Division I boys basketball bracket?
Well, until somebody knocks off Worcester North, I guess you've got to call them the favorites. Yeah. They were champs last year. They beat Needham by a score of 73-64 in the championship game. It was their only trip, and actually it was a big deal in the city of Worcester, as it was the very first Worcester city team to win a state championship. The Holy Name team won it back in 1973. Of course, they were a parochial school. But yeah, Worcester North, the Polar Bears were the talk of the town in Worcester last year. Catholic Memorial, the number 2 seed, and have also had a great run of success. We talked during the hockey program about the hockey success that they've had there. And also when it comes to basketball, the Knights last won a championship back in 2015. Then you have Franklin. Franklin's been to the state finals twice. Actually, they went back-to-back in 2017, 2018. Unsuccessful in both opportunities there, but still Franklin, as we all know here, is a great athletic community. The number 4 seed was North Andover. They have not been in a state title game since 1975 and were victorious there. Xaverian, believe it or not, never made it to a state championship game. But the Hawks, you know, are always a strong team, as is Boston College High, which is the number 6 seed. They were victorious 2 years ago in 2022. They beat Newton North for the championship. Then you rounding things out, Central Catholic as the number 7 seed. The number 8 seed, Andover, won a state title back in 1970 when they beat Springfield Cathedral. The number 9 seed, Lowell, get this, one state championship to their credit, beating Lynn English back in 1937 by the score of 30-16. So it's been a long time coming for Lowell with their state championship. And then the number 10 team from Lawrence, again, one of those teams that has never won a championship. But as we know, when it comes time for the brackets and when it comes time to play the games, anything can happen.
Pete, wouldn't it be something if Lowell won for the first time in so many years and in their own backyard at the Tsongas Center?
Oh, that would be terrific. That's where the road leads to, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, Mike, thank you. That's an excellent bracket in Division I, and you mentioned North High. Let's zoom them in. North High Polar Bears, 19-0 on the season. The Division I defending champions, got a whole bunch of veterans back. And we're going to chat with a couple of them. Let's greet Joe Okla, who is on the team, and also to Sean Steele. Gentlemen, welcome to our show. Congratulations on your year to date. There you are. All right.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, so your team is 19-0, and it looks like that camera might need to be flipped 90 degrees. Can you just, there you go. Your team is 19-0, undefeated. Any chance your team has peaked too early going into the season's tournament?
What? Can you repeat that, please?
Do you think your team has achieved too much too soon and you have nothing left for the tournament? You've peaked. You've reached your climax too soon.
Oh, no way. We don't think we reached our climax. Our climax is we feel like going into the tournament. We got to push into third gear throughout the season. We're playing a good season, regular season, but going into the tournament, we have a whole different mindset, going in strong, and our climax is yet to hit.
Okay, so you are the Division I state defending champions. Is it hard to repeat, to come back 2 years in a row, and everybody's sort of looking to play you?
Yeah, it's definitely hard, to do it over again because, everyone's giving you the best shot every single time you play them. So we just got to work harder every single day and get the job done.
Yeah, that's the name of the game. What style of play can fans watch as you progress through the tournament? How do you describe the style of basketball play that your coach, Al Petway, has led your team to play out on the court?
I would say a very strong defending team.
Mm-hmm.
We base our game on defense, and we like to play fast. So we get a good stop.
Okay, we're having a little bit of trouble with your audio. Maybe you can just adjust your phone there just a little bit. I'm going to ask a couple of other questions. You've won a lot of your games, just about all of your games, by big scores. I mean, virtually blowouts, except your last game against Framingham, which was a little stiffer competition. What will you do to adjust your game as you play teams that are now stronger as the tournament will advance towards its finals?
We're definitely going to work harder and stop taking teams lightly. We've been blowing out teams left and right, so we came to that game not very focused. So now going into the state tournament, we're going to be way more locked in. We're going to work harder than we ever worked, and that's what we got to do.
Mm-hmm. What has Coach Al Petway brought to your team and to your school?
Can you repeat that, please?
What has Coach Al Petway brought to your team and to your school?
Coach Petway has brought a lot to our school and the team. And now he's brought a lot to the community, bringing us together, keeping us focused, just always giving us the right mindset to do the right thing inside and outside of school. On support, always telling us to do the right thing, telling us to stay focused, stay together. So making sure that we're all staying together all the time. So we can bond at one.
Okay, guys, thank you very much. A little bit of audio trouble. We thank Joe Okla and Sean Steele. Good luck in the tournament. I know you've brought a lot of pride to the city of Worcester. See if you can keep it going here this year.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, very good. Well, two talented individuals. Their team is just red hot, undefeated,
Absolutely.
state champs. What more can you say? I knew you have some other special guests lined up to talk about the boys' basketball bracket.
I know, and what a thing to see with all of the success they had last year, and to not just make history for their school, but the entire city of Worcester, and now to be on a pretty good path to potentially do
I
it
know
again.
Coach Petway, he's brought a lot to the school. He's brought back his alumni. They have special events for the alumni, and he's really brought that whole area together. And so congratulations to them.
Absolutely. Now we have two experts coming in to join us right now. We have Matt Feld from the Boston Herald and my coworker Gage Nutter from Mass Live. Gage and Matt, how are you both doing?
Doing well, Meredith. Doing well.
Good, Meredith.
Gage, we will get started with you. You're about to cover some excitement over at Westfield High School with just a absolute monstrous day of Western Mass Championships. From what you've seen this year, what teams have stuck out to you?
Oh, wow. I mean, it's been one of the more interesting years in Western Mass for me, and I guess maybe the last 5 years. I mean, where to even begin? There's the Springfield Central element of it all, where the Golden Eagles were dominating Western Mass these last few years. But Putnam has given them a run for their money this year, beating Central twice during the season, once at Hoop Hall and once on Springfield Central's senior night. I know we've talked a lot about Pope Francis. I know you guys just talked about Pope Francis. I remember just 5 years ago covering one of their games, and they finished the season with just 2 wins. And now the last few years, the Vitavelli brothers turning things around. You got Mayfield in the front court, Justin D'Alessio doing a great job coaching up that program. You got Agawam, a surprise team this year. I actually saw head coach Tim Sheehan in the parking lot here on the way to my car. Colin Smith has been a great player for Agawam. Elijah Maldonado. I mean, the list goes on. It's been such an interesting year in Western Mass this year with not one certain top dog. I think maybe 4 or 5 different teams could maybe grab that title of top dog this year. It's not one team in particular. But in short, it's been a wild ride, and I'm really excited to see what happens today here at the Western Mass Championships in Westfield, and once we get the ball rolling with the state tournament here soon.
Now, Matt, what have you seen from the teams in your coverage area heading into the postseason? Any teams in particular we should keep an eye on?
You know, it's funny. I think coming into the tournament or coming into the season, a lot of people thought Worcester North was going to be the best team in the state. They've certainly lived up to that billing in every respect. But by and large, you know, you're seeing a ton of parity, I think, in general across the state. Down on the Cape, you've got teams like Bourne and defending champion Wareham, Old Rochester. All 3 of those teams have been outstanding and are contenders in their own respective divisions. In the City League, you have Burke and Charlestown, New Mission, who are all going to be factors for their state champions. Charlestown in Division 3, Burke Division 4, New Mission Division 5. East Boston could certainly make a run as well in their own respective divisions. To me, after sort of that top dog, that's Worcester North, you know, the #1 team in the state, and of course the team to be in Division 1. I think there's a lot of parity across the board, and I think across all divisions, there are numerous contenders to make their respective Final Fours and semifinals, maybe even more so than the past couple of years.
Now, Gage, you mentioned a handful of players a moment ago, but if you had maybe 2 or 3 players that you think everyone should be keeping an eye on as we go into the postseason, who would they be?
First and foremost, Andrew Mabry at Putnam. In my estimation, I think he's been the best basketball player in Western Massachusetts for the last 2 years. Started his varsity career at SciTech and then came over to Putnam and joined up forces with former UMass player Lou Rowe. And he's just somehow gotten even better this year. So I would put Andrew Mabry in that conversation. I'm really excited for Manny Brown, to see Manny Brown later today and in the state tournament, junior guard for Monument Mountain. Coming into this season, I figured with Monument Mountain that it would, as far as I know, be the kind of Khalil Carlson show alongside with everybody else. But Manny Brown has really taken kind of, you know, the steering wheel of that team and has been a really good primary scorer for them. And for people that know Berkshire Hoops, Manny Brown, younger brother of Dion Brown, who is also a star at Monument Mountain, now is a important player at UMBC. So I would go Andrew Mabry, Manny Brown, and then wow, I think I would probably say as well Elijah Maldonado, the point guard at Agawam. He's been vitally important to what they've been this year, which is very, very successful. One of the best point guards in the region. I'd put him and Julian Chapman kind of in that mix. Julian Chapman from Putnam as well. But yeah, it's in years past. I mean, if you would ask me that question, I'd be able to kind of give you just 3 easy ones right off the top. But this year, it's such a long list. Ryan Vitavelli at Pope Francis, TJ Reed at Pope Francis, just to name a few more. But yeah, plenty of Western Mass talent they're gonna make a name for themselves here, I think, in the next month when it comes to the tournament.
Absolutely. Matt, same question for you. Who do you think is going to make a name for themselves heading into the tournament from your area?
You know, it's funny. A lot of the teams I've watched and covered, even more specifically the last couple of weeks, some of the top players are underclassmen. Josiah Adamson, freshman at Catholic Memorial, has just been a superstar all season long in every respect, averaging close to 20 points a game. I expect for him to be one of the best players in the tournament. Jalen Hunter Coleman's a sophomore at Charlestown. They just won the Boston City League Championship after winning the Comcast tournament. I expect him to be, outstanding in the tournament as well and give Charlestown a strong chance to win the Division III state championship. Zach Lewinsky was a Boston Herald Dream Teamer a season ago, and I expect him to give North Andover a chance to make at least the Division I state semifinals, if not make a deeper run. Dan Civillo, a 6'9" center at BC High, who's going to Colby, has played very well, particularly the second half of the season. I kind of agree with Gage in the aspect that there are a number of very talented individual players across the state. Matthew Gaffney, who helped Malden Catholic win the state championship last year. If Malden Catholic's to repeat as state champions, he's going to be a crucial component of that this year as well. AJ Lopes at Wareham, guard, helped them win the Division IV state championship last year. He's back this year. I think there's a huge abundance of talent in the coverage areas that I've had this year. And again, like going back to what I said, particularly at the underclassmen level, which can be exciting come to the tournament because a lot of times the spotlight is on the seniors, but Josiah Adamson at CM and Jalen Hunter Coleman at Charlestown are two examples of underclassmen who might be two of, if not the best players, at least in Eastern Mass, going into the tournament at guard.
We were talking about that same thing with girls basketball, with some of these younger players really stepping up, like the Renaissance girls. We had a little bit of technical difficulty with their camera, but Sanai Baker, Kaylee Buzzle, two freshmen who are leaders on that team. So it will certainly be interesting to see some of those younger players step up over the next few weeks. But Matt, Gage, thank you so much. You can follow along with Matt's coverage over at the Boston Herald, and of course you can follow Gage over at Mass Live. Gage will actually have live updates throughout today from those Western Mass Championships. You can get those at highschoolsports.masslive.com. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks, Meredith.
Thank you, Meredith. See you on the road.
Just amazing, the talent that's out there this year. It's one of the greatest years I can imagine. All these young players, the seasoned veterans, the Western Mass contingent with great stars out there.
Absolutely. Mike, we'll toss it back to you once more. Anything else that has stood out to you now that you've looked at the brackets even more closely?
I just like the fact that it's so wide open, it seems, right now. And I really think that this could be a year ripe for some teams to come out of nowhere to win the championship. It's just a very exciting time. High school sports are so exciting to begin with, but it really notches up when it gets to this level. For the state championship playoffs, and to have a statewide championship like we have and have had the last couple of years, just makes it all the more interesting. I know that there's some people that don't really care, sometimes about having to go from one part of the state to the other. But a Nantucket team catching a ferry and then hitting the mainland and driving out to the Berkshires, what a great story they're going to have to tell someday. And to be able to wind up at the, when all is said and done, at the Tsongas Center or the TD Garden, this is where dreams are made. And boy, high school sports just give you everything.
And Mike, it seems like it brings a lot of pressure to bear on each kid, but it seems like every year they step up and able to withstand the pressure. That's a tribute to them and to their coaches, who we look to them to put in some outstanding performances as coaches in this tournament as well.
Absolutely. And there are so many communities that we talked about that are just so sports oriented and have such tremendous traditions, and people in town and the alumni and the people that show up for the games. A lot at stake here, a lot to be proud of, and a lot to work hard for. And in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we're just going to see some great athletics here.
Well, Mike, you brought so much history to our show here today. It's all contained in that big brain of yours. And thank you for joining us. It was so great having you on the show.
Thank you, Peter. It was great being here. Meredith, you both did a great job today as well, and look forward to working with you again.
Thanks so much, Mike. Okay. Now, if you're looking to go to any of these amazing games, you will need to buy tickets ahead of time through GoFan. You should go to the MIAA.net website in order to access those. Otherwise, you will not be able to buy tickets at the gates. That is definitely an important reminder going into things.
Yeah, we really want people to use that. It makes the administration so easy because everything is preloaded. You know, you flash your phone or what have you when you go there, and you can get to see a great, great game.
Well, Pete, this has been a joy to work with you throughout this process. I'm so grateful to Franklin TV for partnering with Mass Live, to our producers, Pete and Chris, and to the MIAA, specifically Jim Clark, who does a great job getting those brackets together and working with us, Steve Dubzinski, Dr. Baldwin. This has just been a wonderful project and great collaboration.
Thanks, Meredith. You brought a lot to the party. You elevated our game, and congratulations to all the folks at Mass Live who do such a great effort on covering basketball and hockey.
Thank you so much. Now we'll wrap up by going back to our interview with Dr. Baldwin as he talks just one more time about the special moments that come out of a postseason. We're back with Dr. Baldwin for one final question as we wrap up our first bracket analysis show. You danced to One Shining Moment with your daughter at her wedding. Obviously, that is an important thing for any student participating in a tournament like this. What do you hope to see for some One Shining Moments as we get through this tournament with the athletes?
Oh, it's so unique. Yeah, so I was a coach way back when, and with children in the house, we would always stay up to the end to watch One Shining Moment. And I probably can't stay up late enough anymore, but I think my kids still do. And what's neat about that is it's not about the team that always won. They segue and they get to that by the end. It's about the team that lost in the beginning. It's about the mascot. It's about the band. It's about the fans. It's about the experience. And so it was such a vivid memory with my daughter and I that at her wedding, we kind of chose that would be the father-daughter dance. And it was, I think it was either Teddy Pendergrass or Luther Vandross version that we danced to One Shining Moment. Some people thought we were crazy. But it was meaningful to us because she knew growing up in our house that was an important time. And then she was a student athlete and played basketball and made a few tournaments themselves. And so it meant a lot to our family, but to the community that is a part of it. Your One Shining Moment can be whatever you make it, and enjoy it. Make it special.
And there will be definitely plenty of terrific moments to come. This is just the beginning with the brackets announced today and so many games in the next few weeks. Thank you again for being here, and we look forward to hopefully doing more of these bracket analysis shows in the future.
Thanks to everyone who's making this happen. Let's keep this going.
This program was made possible by your Franklin friends and neighbors. Good folks just like you. Thanks for supporting Franklin TV. And thanks for watching.